Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. So welcome to today's webinar, which is about exploring opportunities in Chile's H2 sector with H2GLOBAL. Today we have a number of experts who will tell us what's going on in Chile and then how they are then for the first two presentations, and then for the next four presentations they will talk about, or five, they will talk about how European companies are gearing up to go and work in Chile and offer the expertise. So just a couple of announcements. So we are recording this, and you will get the recording and the slides as well after the webinar, not straight away. Typically it might take a day or two, but you will get the PPT slides and the video recording. Also, I encourage you to use the chat function to introduce yourself and let us know where you're joining from and what's your company as well. So you can just post that info using the chat function on the toolbar. And just a last announcement of this kind. So you'll see next to the chat function a dialogue box thing called Q&A. And you can use that to send your questions. So after all the presentations are done, we can start answering questions. So I think without any further ado, I will ask each of the panelists to introduce yourselves like very briefly. So I think I will probably start in reverse order. So we end up with Johan, who will be the first one to present. So Agata, could you introduce yourself briefly, please?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much once more for organizing this webinar and for your help and collaboration. So my name is Agata Horwacik. I am the H2GLOBAL project coordinator and the specialist technician at the consultancy and training department in Aragón Hydrogen Foundation. So this is just as a very quick, brief introduction. So I leave the floor for the rest of the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agata. And José, could you please introduce yourself briefly, please?
Okay, my name is José Oliveira Paulo. Now from Lisbon, Portugal. Actually, I am the president of the board of EnergyIN, which is the cluster for energy in Portugal.
Thank you very much, José, and very welcome today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pierre, you're up next. So if you could introduce yourself briefly, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Pierre Ceccaldi. I come from Capenergies, which is the French counterpart of the H2GLOBAL partnership or meta cluster. And I will pitch my cluster in a minute or so. I mean, in a bit.
Thank you very much, Pierre, and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you.
It's Tiziana, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Tiziana Campisi of the cluster Greentech in Italy, and I'm an environmental scientist. So I'm involved in the development of SMEs in the field of the environment.
Thank you very much, Tiziana. And right, so next up we would have Żaneta, but I think she could not connect today. So I think you are Alexandra, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Hey, hello everyone. My name is Alexandra Decynko. I represent today a hydrogen cluster of hydrogen technologies from Poland. Of course, unfortunately, due to health reasons, I'm replacing my colleague today.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm sure you'll do well today, and thank you for joining us. You can actually change your name as well on the camera. So if you put your cursor on where your picture is, there are like 3 dots, and there you could like change your name, so and put your name and the clusters name. But yeah, very, very welcome today. And next up, we have Marcos Kulka. So Marcos, could you please introduce yourself briefly, please?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. I'm the executive director of H2 Chile, that is the National Association of Hydrogen in Chile. And I will explain a little bit in detail in my presentation who are the members and what we do. So thank you again for the invitation and for having me here.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marcus, for your introduction and for being with us today. And now, Johan, if you could introduce yourself and then get ready to present, because you'll be, oh no, actually Marcus will be first, sorry, but Johan, if you could introduce yourself first, that'd be great.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you as well for the invitation today. My name is Johan Dreyer, and I'm the president of H2 Antofagasta, which is the Association of Green Hydrogen Project Developers in the north of Chile, mainly in the region of Antofagasta in the Atacama Desert. So looking forward to introducing to all of you what's happening in Atacama at the moment.
Thank you very much, Johan. Yeah, there is a lot going on there. So I'm sure it'll be very interesting. So, right, so now we'll stop sharing my screen and I'll leave the floor to Marcos Kulka for the opening presentation. So I'll stop sharing now. And Marcos, whenever you're ready, share your screen and start presenting. Perfect. So I can see your presentation. So over to you.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it perfectly.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation again. And I have a long presentation, but I will try to do it short and sweet since we have 8 minutes or 10, okay? First of all, in terms of H2 Chile, our vision is to be a promoter of zero emission development of Chile and in the world, not only Chile. And of course, the way that we try to do it is by the adoption of renewable hydrogen and its derivatives in our society and promoting that to the public and private collaboration. We have members that comes from the global and leading companies and some individual members as well that were the founders of this association 5 years ago. As you can see in that slide, we have more than 101 today, different associates from the most diverse sectors and diverse countries. We have mining companies, energy, oil and gas, fuel companies, infrastructure, logistics. We have public companies like Copec, the largest mining in the world, and we have ENAP as well, the oil and gas company of the state. In terms of LATAM, as you may know, in Latin America, we have announced more than 55 gigawatts of electrolyzers capacity, and from those represents those 23% of the global capacity announced in the world, 70 billion in investments. From the same report, in particular for Chile, and I will show you later, we have the potential to reduce 23% or even 24% of the CO2 emissions by different uses with hydrogen. McKinsey states some of those: chemicals, synthetic kerosene, and mining, but we have, of course, others. Like 2 or 3 weeks ago in Rio, McKinsey showed this graph that I took a picture. I couldn't get the slide, so I'm showing the picture. Where they stated that Chile should become in 2030 the cheapest producer of renewable hydrogen in the world. And of course, you may know that Latin America, many countries, we have great conditions based on renewable sources. In terms of the overview of the hydrogen industry in Chile, as I was stating, we committed as a country by law to be net zero at 2050, and from those, 24% comes from green hydrogen uses. I would like to show you as well, this is a report of McKinsey again. They did it with 70 different countries, and Chile was the only one that could become net zero carbon neutral in 2040 with a positive NPV, being profitable, the only one in the world, mainly based on the natural resources that we have. The other countries that could become net zero in 2040 that stayed in that report is Finland, Austria, and Iceland. As you may know, Chile does have great conditions in terms of solar and wind mainly, solar in the north and wind in the south. We have wind in the north as well, but the south part of Chile is with the greatest conditions. In terms of capacity, we could have 70 times more capacity than the current capacity that we have with renewable sources today. Chile stated in 2020 a national strategy, and one of the key goals was in 2025 to have an electrolysis capacity of 5 gigawatts, and in 2030 to be one of the cheapest countries to produce green hydrogen with less than $1.5 per kilogram, and to have a capacity of 25 gigawatts of electrolyzers. We have many projects with the potential to export ammonia, export hydrogen, and from the strategy of Chile, I took those numbers. As you can see, the main places are, of course, Europe, that should be a great importer. We have China as well, Japan, Korea, USA. I won't go into detail in order to get to my next slides. In terms of prices, as I was mentioning, I took many different reports, where in all of them, I would say that Chile is part of the top 5 countries in terms of prices. You have there IREN as well. Well, they state that Chile should be the second cheapest after China. So those reports are just to reflect the great conditions that we have, and Chile should be a net exporter and a local producers of green hydrogen. We have had during the last years many different policies and activities that I won't go into detail, but as you can see, we have had different subsidies, starting with the strategy, different agreements with Europe in terms of with the different entry ports, governance in terms of interministerial committees to organize the transversality of the green hydrogen. I would focus on the last one in this chart, that is the action plan. We are currently, the current government took the strategy from the former government. Those are great news, because that on a state strategy. We are implementing that so far, asking to the different places, Antofagasta, Biobío, Magallanes, Valparaíso, Santiago, to the communities, to the companies, to the NGOs, how they would like to co-create this industry. And latest news, for example, Corfo, the Agency of Economic Development, launched the financial facility, money that came from multilateral banks, $1 billion. And last week, the government launched a strategic committee formed by some former presidents, ministers, NGOs, and governors. In terms of the projects in Chile, in terms of the announced projects, what we have here is the information of the public declared projects. From April 21 to April 23, we moved forward from 9 projects to 50 announced projects, with a mix of local demand, exports as well. That's the map of Chile. So you can see the different companies, developers, mainly in the north, the solar source and the mining industry, that I'm guessing Johan will go in detail on that, so I won't go in detail on that part. You have the center part and the south. In the north, we have 22 projects, but as I mentioned, I would leave to Johan to describe that in detail. The center part is more related to local demand, since we have the petrochemical industry there, we have the steel companies, cement companies. As you can see, and as is in the world as well, we are mostly on the pre-feasibility and feasibility stages. And we have 13 projects. But in that zone, most of them are for the local demand. Going into the southest part of the country, Magallanes, we have there 13 different projects. Those are giga projects. Most of them are focused to export ammonia today, or hydrogen, as you can see there. And I have the list here. As the other part of the countries, most of them are on the piloting, trying to implement and to test the different assumptions. Of course, maybe you have heard about Haruoni, synthetic fuels, so you have the list there. We have 13 different projects, 85% aiming for export, mainly ammonia, and we have a couple of them that are going to enter into the environmental evaluation. And that's my last slide. I have in detail every project, but respecting the time and getting time for the other speakers. As you can see as well, for derivatives in terms of levelized cost of hydrogen, and we have two timings here, 2035 and 2050. Chile as well should become one of the cheapest in the world in terms of ammonia and methanol. And many times the question is, what about the shipping cost? But in terms of the total cost, the shipping cost is not a big part of the total cost. So with that, I would like to end. If you have any further questions, do not hesitate to ask me. So thank you again for the invitation. And I guess the floor to Johan or Carlos.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Marcus, for your presentation. So as Marcus said, if you who are there in the audience, if you have any questions, send them through the Q&A box and we'll get to them after all the presentations. Now I'd like to give the floor to Johan. So Johan, whenever you are ready, share your screen and let us know about what's going on in Antofagasta.
Can you please confirm that you're seeing the presentation?
I'm seeing the presentation and now it's on full screen. So
okay,
yeah,
amazing. Well, thank you for the invitation today. Marco, thanks also for your overview of what's currently happening at the national level. So I will deep dive now on the Antofagasta region, which is located in the north of Chile, in the Antofagasta, in the Atacama Desert. And it's currently positioning itself as a world-class mining and also renewable energy hub. And I'll go into detail on why in this presentation and why this is relevant, of course, for global markets which are looking to import green hydrogen and its derivatives. Very quickly on H2 Antofagasta, it's an association of green hydrogen project developers, which was funded in October of 2022. We have 8 founding companies from different sectors: mining, logistics, desalination, renewable energy generation, and others, which reflects, of course, the diversity of companies and players which are actively developing green hydrogen projects in the north of Chile, because, of course, we have major industries thanks to the mining industry, which has over a century of experience in the country. Can you please confirm that the slide changed, Carlos? So you're seeing the second slide, right?
Yes,
okay,
I can see a map of Antofagasta.
Cheers. So yeah, so kind of like an overview of why the north of Chile and especially Antofagasta is so relevant for the economy of the 21st century. It's because we will be one of the leading commodity suppliers of the green economy, not only because of green hydrogen, but also because of lithium and copper. As you can see on the left, it's one of the largest regions in the country, and it holds the largest copper and lithium reserves and mines on Earth, We're the first exporter of copper in the world and the second exporter of lithium. Hence, of course, this shows the relevance of the region as a commodity supplier for cables and batteries in the coming decades. Also, we have 3.5 gigawatts of installed renewable energy capacity, which is a third of the country's total renewable energy capacity. The overall installed capacity in the country is slightly over 30 gigawatts of installed capacity. And not only we have the leading position in terms of installed capacity, but we have also a very strong pipeline of projects under development. So 20 gigawatts of projects under development. However, because of transmission constraints to dispatch this energy to the main consumption centers in the central region of the country, these 20 gigawatts are currently on hold until there's a way of exporting this energy to global markets. And of course, green hydrogen answers this quite nicely in terms of being able to export this energy. Also, because it's the driest place in the world, we have the lowest cost of energy for PV, for solar PV on Earth, which is under $15 a megawatt hour. And also the region has been quite innovative in terms of technologies, because we hold the first concentrated solar power and also geothermal operating power plants in Latin America, which I think is quite relevant. And also wind as well. We have, for example, the largest onshore wind farm in Latin America as well, which is currently being built, and it will reach a capacity of 800 megawatts installed. Hence, we see that it's not only PV, but it's a very rich portfolio of technologies currently being developed in the region. Not only this, but we also, and because of the mining region industry, which has been around for a century already, we have South America's largest operating water desalination plant, which is owned by BHP, the mining company La Escondida, and has 2.5 cubic meters per second of capacity. And something that is also quite recent, and I think it's very interesting for the region and for green hydrogen, is that the current administration announced a couple of months ago that they're launching Latin America's largest utility-scale power storage tender, which should be operational by 2026 and reflects an expected investment of $2 billion. And of course, this is quite relevant for green hydrogen, because the higher the availability of baseload green energy, of course, the better the capacity factor for electrolyzers and the lower the LCOH. And this, of course, has reflects that currently we have 24 green hydrogen projects under development in the region. Quite rapidly, because Marcos already mentioned this, but Antofagasta leads at a national level because we hold roughly half of the announced projects in the country. Here you can see the main three hubs. So left, the north, Atacama, central region in the middle, and Magallanes at the right. And kind of like to compare very briefly, and if we concentrate in Antofagasta, the energy source, because the renewable energy industry has been around for over a decade, we have a well-developed grid infrastructure and also a diversified portfolio of technologies. Hence, we have solar, wind, and also a grid available for green hydrogen generation. Same in the central region. However, in Magallanes, because it's very far away and complicated, it's not well connected to the rest of the country, they rely mostly on off-grid wind. Also, the average project size in terms of electrolysis, in Antofagasta, we have both megawatt scale and gigawatt scale. I will explain more in detail afterwards why, but hence we have local offtake and exports, whereas in the central region is mostly megawatt for local offtake in small applications, and Magallanes is exclusively gigawatt scale for exports. Also, H2 carrier-wise, we have most of them in the north, so hydrogen, ammonia, and e-fuels, mostly through methanol, whereas in the central region is hydrogen, and in the south, in Magallanes, is mostly ammonia and e-fuels for exports. Offtake in the north is mining for local applications and exports. And also, again, in the terms of number of projects, we have 24 projects which are being developed, compared to, of course, significantly less in other regions. However, of course, if we go into the capacity by 2030 line, so we have between 12 to 15 expected gigawatts of installed capacity in Antofagasta, compared to over 15 gigawatts in Magallanes, but they have almost a third of the number of projects that we have in the north. So in Magallanes is really large-scale monsters for exports, whereas like in the north, it's between, I would say, tens of megawatts to 2 gigawatts of size. And in terms of expected commissioning date, we see the first wave of projects to be commercially operating by 2025, the megawatt scale ones, and 2027 onwards for the gigawatt scale ones. And last but not least, infrastructure-wise, in the north, because again of the mining industry, we have an LNG import terminal, we have gas pipelines, desalination plants, and of course a very mature grid and renewable energy installed capacity, which of course benefits the development of green hydrogen compared to the other regions in the country. Something that is also very relevant in the north is that local offtake is clearly driven by the mining sector, and this was stated early this year by Alta Ley, which is a mining cluster in Chile and Peru, and they launched the world's first roadmap for hydrogen in mining operations. And this study, of course, identified a potential demand for renewable hydrogen in Chile of 500,000 tons of hydrogen per year by 2030. Most of it in Antofagasta, where most of the large-scale mines are located. And this translates, of course, into an expected electrolyzer capacity of 5 gigawatts of electrolysis by 2030. Hence, we see that almost a third of the expected production capacity will be absorbed by the mining industry, and the remaining will be exported. If we deep dive, of course, on the ammonia projects, because the topic of the day is H2GLOBAL, and these will be the ones that will be exporting to Europe and the other markets. At a regional level, we see on the left, there's three main, let's say, geographical areas in which ammonia is being developed. So Mejillones, which is an industrial port with well-developed infrastructure. Then Taltal, which has a very good capacities for wind generation, and then inland in the north. And if we see at the right, so the bullet points, basically Mejillones hosts 9 out of the 14 ammonia projects because of this well-developed infrastructure and the potential for exports, of course. Then 2 of the remaining projects are in Taltal because it has an excellent wind resource, yet of course it lacks the port infrastructure. In Taltal is where the largest onshore wind farm, the 801 megawatt, is being built. And the remaining 3 ones are located mostly inland in the desert, so Maria Elena and La Escondida, which are leveraging on the excellent PV resource in this area. Of course, this reflects as well in the cost of ammonia, the LCOA, which currently, this is a rough, of course, range, but what we're seeing in the projects in the north ranges between $600 to $750 per ton, which is quite competitive at a global scale. And in terms of cost of hydrogen or LCOH, this will be in the $2 to $4 the kilogram before 2030. I think it's important to highlight this because sometimes studies from consulting companies are extremely optimistic, which then are not favorable for projects because off-takers are expecting $1 or $2 the kilogram, whereas like that's not real. It's mostly on the $2 to $4 the kilogram range, and I think this is important to be highlighted because otherwise it's very tough for producers to secure off-take contracts if everyone is expecting $1 by 2030, right? So I think this is important to be specified. And kind of like to finish and wrap up. So in terms of what's happening currently in the region, 1/3 of the projects have secured already concessions from the government, which are 40-year dedicated concessions for the production of green hydrogen and ammonia, whereas the remaining ones will move forward with traditional renewable energy concessions. So we see kind of like still the permitting scenario or landscape is being defined by the government. So I think that should be settled in the coming months, and we will see, of course, have a more clear visibility on what the final permitting scheme will be for ammonia production. And the last point, and I think this is the trend pretty much everywhere, common infrastructure and financing are still the major challenges for reaching the expected commissioning dates and operating dates for ammonia projects by 2027 onwards. Yeah, so basically we're actively working with the public sector to coordinate downstream wise for projects to leverage on common infrastructure and not having to build one port per project, but rather, of course, concentrate most of the production through one export project to, of course, gain as much efficiencies as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much from my side to stick to the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johan, for your presentation. Very interesting. I'm sure there will be questions So yeah, those of you who are in the audience, please do send your questions through the Q&A box. I know I have a few myself, but yeah, we're here to cater for the audience as well. So right, so in the interest of time, I'd like to introduce Agata, and yeah, so Agata, whenever you are ready, you can start your presentation.
Perfect. Give me 1 second. Yeah, please let me know if it displays correctly.
I can see your full screen, so it's perfect.
Okay, so once more, good morning and good afternoon to all. So it's our pleasure once more to share this session and our experience with you and all our speakers of today. We are also very glad to be able to learn more about Chile's economy and all the possibilities. So very interesting presentations of the previous speakers, Johan, Marcos. So my presentation maybe will be a little bit different, but anyways, to start, I would like to introduce you briefly to our project and its objectives, as in fact, this is one of the reasons behind today's session. And later on, I would also like to share with you some initiatives and good practices for the development of hydrogen technologies based on the experience of Aragón Hydrogen Foundation. The H2GLOBAL project, funded by the EU COSME program, focuses on the development and the intensification of collaboration between European clusters, including their members, especially SMEs, specialized in green hydrogen technologies, and between the clusters from outside of Europe. So within the framework of our project, we have specified 4 target countries, being Chile, Brazil, South Korea, and Morocco. So in this context, we are looking for opportunities both for European companies in the foreign markets and vice versa. So for the Chilean companies, in this case, to find alliances and work together towards common goal, being the promotion and development of green hydrogen technologies. We seek to create those connections between the entities through various activities, such as today's webinar, workshops, networking, and other forms of collaboration. So here you can see also the key objectives of our project, in which we can distinguish the promotion of alliances between clusters, the intensification of the cross-sector and international collaboration, the support of SMEs in global competition, and finally, the exchange of knowledge and international cooperation projects. The multidisciplinary consortium of our project is formed. 1 second. Yeah, much better. So it's formed by clusters representing 5 European countries. So being EnergyIN cluster from Portugal, from Spain, the Aragón Hydrogen Foundation cluster as a coordinating entity, Capenergies cluster from France, from Italy, Greentech cluster, and cluster of hydrogen technologies from Poland. Also, we would like to present the split view of the value chain identified among H2GLOBAL meta-cluster members, where various actors and providers have been split into the 3 fields, being the production, storage, transport, and distribution, and uses where each SME's members of the cluster partners have been identified and positioned via its company logo. So here we can see the distribution starting from the H2 production, where we can distinguish few strategies for the production of low carbon H2, namely electrolysis, biomass, thermolysis, and gasification. Going to the next category, which is basically hydrogen handling and transportation, we can see various actors specialized, among others, in oil and gas technology, sensors, tank storage, underground storage, services, or liquid vectors. And the last category, which is the group of actors and providers specialized in end use of hydrogen. So here we can highlight such categories as fuel cell systems, industry, road, and maritime. So this is just a very generic view. Of course, there are more actors or also new members joining the clusters, and directly or indirectly contributing and forming part of our H2GLOBAL green hydrogen value chain. So as you can see, I think there is still a lot to be discovered about the H2GLOBAL project. So this is just a small sneak peek. It's, I would love to tell you more about the possibilities and our members. So for this, we would also be more than happy to share with you more details and connect during the upcoming Roadmap Chile event organized by Agata Insights, where we will be representing our clusters and our cluster members with the various SMEs from Europe. So therefore, I strongly encourage you to join us there, especially during our session on 3rd August. So it's going to be the second day of the event. Here you can see in this slide the QR code for the registration page for later. And also, as Carlos also mentioned, if you have any questions regarding the participation or our session of H2GLOBAL or program, please feel free to contact me or directly with the organizers. So right now, I would like to share with you some of the good practices identified within the Aragón Hydrogen Foundation's activities. But before, I would like to briefly present you our entity. So we are a private nonprofit research center created to promote the use of hydrogen as an energy vector. This initiative was promoted by the government of Aragón in 2003 with the support of the Aragonese industry and entities from different sectors of activity. So currently, our cluster board is formed by more than 90 members from different sectors. In general, the foundation works as a key instrument for the promotion of strategic projects related to hydrogen, renewable energies, electric vehicles, and energy efficiency. And as you can see, we have more than 20 active European projects of all kinds divided among all the departments of the foundation. So we have 3 technical departments, being the R&D department, innovation department, consultancy and training, and last but not least, the business development department. So during our more than 20 years of operation and experience based on participation in various hydrogen-related projects and initiatives, we have identified the following good practices contributing to successful and effective development of hydrogen technologies. So being first, the implementation of hydrogen master plan, the creation of hydrogen valleys, later on the interregional collaboration, and finally, the dissemination of hydrogen technology values. So as the first good practice, I would like to present you the hydrogen master plan. So in 2007, the Foundation's Board of Trustees adopted the agreement to develop a regional master plan as a tool to establish a priority lines of work included in the entire hydrogen value chain based on the interests, opportunities, and capabilities of the organizations involved in the region. So our current master plan is already the 4th revision of this initiative, supported also by the government of Aragón. And I think what is more important is that we have been able to observe that through the development of each of the following editions of the master plan, a greater number of participating entities took part in this process of development and its execution of the objectives described in this roadmap for the hydrogen economy in Aragón. So I think there is no doubt that this demonstrates the success and the need for the implementation of such an action plan or hydrogen master plan on the regional level. So also, moreover, thanks to this master plan, many specific objectives have assigned milestone that also contributed to the successful achievement of those objectives. So as a second good practice, I would like to mention the creation of hydrogen valleys. So here with the example of the Get Hydra initiative, the Get Hydra initiative with the full name of Paving an Energy and Technology Way on Hydrogen along Aragón basically refers to an action plan based on the above mentioned hydrogen master plan. So this is basically the execution of the previously introduced master plan. And in this case, Get Hydra is focused on public-private collaboration foreseeing a cooperative development through multiple alliances between the key players, including companies, energy and hydrogen sector, educational entities, R&D, public administrations, etc. So, in particular, the project is expected to involve all parts of the value chain of the Aragonese industrial environment, and also those with any industrial interest in the region. So, this initiative basically includes the production, transport, storage, consumption, and integration of hydrogen in all the industrial processes and in different areas of energy production and consumption. So moving to the third example of good practice, here I just wanted to share with you the example of one of the interregional collaboration project based on our H2Peer project. H2Peer is the initiative established between Spanish and French regions of Pyrenees, funded by the Interreg POCTEFA program. So it was set up in order to create hydrogen refueling station infrastructures between those two regions. And this is a demonstration and deployment project where the main beneficiaries were entities of the two regions involved and experts in the mobility sector with hydrogen infrastructure, as well as the regions themselves that received their first hydrogen refueling stations and hydrogen vehicles. So this project has not only led to a significant development of the hydrogen infrastructure, but has also strengthened the interregional collaboration, which contributed posteriori to development of those two participating regions. So I think there is also no doubt that it has been a major milestone that has allowed the implementation of the hydrogen technology. Also, it allowed the validation of a certain methodology used in this project, and of course, the dissemination of hydrogen technologies, which in fact is another and the last good practice that I would like to comment during today's presentation. So in addition to all activities related to the promotion and dissemination of hydrogen technologies, one of our main activities in the foundation is the organization of visits to raise awareness and knowledge about the hydrogen technologies, which contributes to a greater acceptance of these technologies, and also for raising the educational level related with the hydrogen technology. So for this reason, within the foundation's facilities, a didactic room was built with a dedicated special equipment and didactic material to allow the demonstration of hydrogen technologies. The foundation organizes free guided tours to various academic centers, schools, or basically any person in our association interested in learning more about hydrogen technology. So this activity contributes especially to the learning and familiarization with hydrogen technologies. And just to give you an idea of the importance of this action, since the creation of the foundation, more than around 600 visitors a year visit our facilities and the didactic room created for these purposes. So just to finish, as you can see, we can distinguish several important and very essential activities for the development of the hydrogen economy at regional level that can be as well implemented on wider scale, of course. So I really hope that this presentation has been interesting for you and will serve as a good example for boosting hydrogen technologies development. So thank you very much for your attention, and if anyone has any question related either to presented good practices or the H2GLOBAL project, so I will be happy to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Agata, for your presentation. So, right now I'd like to start with the presentations from the clusters, which will be briefer. And I've also posted on the chat, so I've asked the members of the audience that if there is anyone who is already working in Chile from an international company, they could let us know what they're doing there. So it'd be good to know. In any case, I'd like to introduce the first of the cluster members. So we have José Paulo. So José Paulo, whenever you're ready, you can start your presentation.
Okay. Okay, you got it?
I'm not able to see anything on the screen.
Let me see. Why that? I don't know. It was okay just some time ago, but I don't know what happened now. Let's try to pick up a file.
So if you there we go. I think I can see that you're sharing your whole screen now.
Yep.
So if you click on your presentations, you can show that.
Okay.
Then that should work. And then if you make it
Okay.
full screen, that's it. Yeah. So
Okay.
go for it.
Okay, it's just a brief description about EnergyIN. So EnergyIN is the completeness and technology cluster for energy in Portugal, which we are a private non-profit association. We have been founded in 2008 by some of the major Portuguese energy companies. That by that time, hydrogen was not in the map. But our mission is to cooperate with different companies in the energy sector, especially those in the renewables and energy efficiency. So we try to encourage partnership and thinking to enhance industrial competitiveness through technology development and production innovation. So we cooperate with the energy companies. We stimulate innovative strategies and develop pioneer projects that can showcase national technology systems and products. Just going to the project H2GLOBAL itself. So basically, we were in charge of one of the working package, so that we work all together. But we have the responsibility from the first work package, which the objective was to support the transfer of know-how, good practice, and experience of the 5 participating clusters in order to cement the learning and common understanding of capabilities, competence, and needs in regard of internationalization and cooperation activities. So we try to identify European strategic partners willing to engage and support this process of internationalizations. So our main aim was competence, needs, and synergies assessment within the consortium. We have been responsible in this work package for 3 tasks. So to identify the cluster and SMEs needs to support cross-border, cross-sectoral collaboration and internationalization, mapping the cluster capabilities in the identification of challenges for SMEs internationalization, and to identify strategic partners and supporting network in Europe for support of our activities. So basically, after this first text, by the end, we finalized with a report with the internationalization needs, consortium capabilities, and supporting networks. During this process, so we worked about 6 months in this project. And after, in 2022, we have been involved in the organizing a mission in Portugal, where we have a workshop with the clusters and the SMEs from the different 5 countries, and also we organize some visits to some specific projects in so-called the Sines Hydrogen Valley, where we visit a refinery from our main gas and fuels provider, which is Galp, one of our founders of EnergyIN, and also in the old coal-fired plant of EDP, Energies of Portugal, which is one of our founders as well, where we have seen the, let's say, the old power plant, and that's not now with the old equipment from the coal fire plant nowadays, but where there's going to be installed one electrolyzer of 100 megawatts, which will be the biggest one in Portugal. So I'm just going to pass through some of the projects that we are being involved, let's say, supporting these activities. So those that I have mentioned to you is in the area of SINS. So in the area of SINS, you have, as I mentioned, the GALP, where they're going to install electrolyzer of 100 that will be, let's say, connected to a solar power plant. Actually, GALP is already the main, the biggest Portuguese producer of gray hydrogen that they use in their fuel process, but now they're going to change this process to green hydrogen using the power from the solar panels. Also, EDP has been involved in the Green to Atlantic project, which is a power project that is supported by the European Union, where they're going to install also 100 megawatt green hydrogen plant, and they're going to use the infrastructure from the intakes they have for the old power plant. The water there is very near the ocean, and so that's an infrastructure where, let's say, will be the port that will be connected to some hydrogen storage in Spain, and then to the south of France in the area of Marseille with a common European project, the H2 Med. Also in that area, so SINS, this is, let's say, the biggest hydrogen hub. There is also one of our members that is Fusion Fell that working in a generation of hydrogen using their technology for solar panels. There'll be also several projects already running, like a green pipeline project, injection of hydrogen, green hydrogen in the network. And this is in the area of Seixal, which is quite near. This is Lisbon, this is on the other side of the river. In Cascais, there is already a public fixed hydrogen fuel station, where there is also a portable ARS from a project Drive that is handled by PRF Gas Solutions. They have already some good business in Brazil and also in Chile, so they have a permanent staff in Santiago. There is ICAM, which is connected with the Solvay, and they have a hydrogen production facility. EDP also is now building a new is installing in the old combined cycle power plant about half an hour from Lisbon, just with a small electrolyzer of 5 megawatt electrolyzer. Also in the area of Alentejo, nearby the Spanish border, there is a solar to hydrogen plant, 25 gigawatts. And this is really a quite interesting project. It's just the beginning now. And this is, let's say, project with Dorugas. Dorugas is from the north of the country, but they have some good expertise about gas. And there is BP, so the British Petroleum, that have a solar company, so-called Light Source BP. In the area of Évora, there is several projects running, like the green gas project injection in the gas network, and also there is a H2 Évora solar to grid, which are using technology from PRF. So if you have, there'll be other projects, but let's say this is really those that are in progress and more in a forward position at the moment, and that's it for my presentation. If you need some additional information, please just let me know.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for your presentation. And now, in the interest of keeping the time, I'd like to give the floor to Pierre Ceccaldi. So, do you know how to stop sharing? Just say it's if you put okay. Your there you go, you've got it. Okay, so Pierre, over to you.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah,
Can
we
you
can hear you
see
well.
the front page?
I can
as
see
well?
your presentation as well.
Perfect. So thank you, José. Thank you, Agata, and thank you to the organizers for this opportunity. So I'm representing Capenergies, which is the French counterpart of the H2GLOBAL meta cluster. Nobody's perfect, but I'll try to make something good out of it. When in English it goes cluster, in French it goes pôle de compétitivité. For competitiveness, you might have recognized the word, and that means that we get labeled or an accreditation, sorry, by the public state, by the government, national government, each year, each 4 years, on 4 years round, to deliver the label of these competitiveness clusters. And that helps emerging innovative projects to get funded, basically. And so our main role or mission is to facilitate an innovation ecosystem that brings together academic researchers, startups, and greater industry, some of which are the founders of the cluster. And the territories we are dealing with are the Région Sud, which is basically the small southeast quarter of France, including the French Riviera and also the Rhône River Valley. That's where there is a great zone or industrial port harbor zone from Marseille and Fos-sur-Mer. I'll talk about it in a minute. And basically what we do is to close this circle where we facilitate this network of actors to provide or to hope and provide some framework, sorry, to facilitate innovation. And so we work across the board of the low carbon transition, including its technical aspects. So you recognize 4 cardinal points here. I won't go through all of them. And then in diagonal or in orange, vertical and horizontal, we have 3 transversal subjects or topics dealing with cybersecurity and digital transition, and then the circular economy, and as well the social changes that are required to facilitate and achieve these energy transition. And we also play a role as the regional delegate of the French National Hydrogen Association, which goes France Hydrogène, and that takes part in the hydrogen task force together with the professional union MEDEF. And so we have more than 50 projects currently under development in the region. So you have, I should get a laser, sorry. But I'm not too good at Zoom. I can't find the laser. I hope you can see my cursor. So if you see this circle, so basically what José mentioned just a few minutes ago, the H2 Med project. So that's a trans or pan-European hydrogen so-called backbone that would dive in the Mediterranean Sea in Barcelona, so coming from all the way from Portugal, and then go all the way up to Germany through that part that's called Haifel. And around this area, there is about 10 projects of deep decarbonization for industry, namely for low carbon steel, but also for oil and gas refineries, etc. And we also have about 20 projects that concern mobility infrastructures, mobility and industry infrastructure, especially on the coastal area. You see all the way to Nice and Cannes, to the far east of the region. And in green, we have, so those are the product developers or the startups in a sense. And we also facilitate or bring together them with the researchers that develop some technological breaks. So that's all for me, and I'll leave you with this page where you have the contacts of all of the 4 members of the H2 Global Task Force within Capenergies. We are about 20 people working across the themes of the thematics. So not only hydrogen, but all low carbon vectors and decarbonizations. And Rafael is our international and EU director, and together with Eloise and David Campos, who is in the audience, and he's actually Mexican. So if you didn't understand anything I said and only speak Spanish, you can reach out to him. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pierre. I'm sure that we all understood what you said. I know I did. So, yeah, thank you for your presentation. So now I'd like to give the floor to Tiziana. So Tiziana, whenever you're ready.
I'm here.
If you can start sharing your screen and let us know what's going on in your cluster.
Okay. Okay.
I can see it now in full screen, so over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me introduce you the Greentech cluster. The Greentech cluster is the regional cluster of Emilia-Romagna region for the energy and sustainable development of the region. The Emilia-Romagna developed an high technology network that is composed of several entities, mainly industrial research laboratories, 10 technopoles. Here in the picture, you can see how they are located, the technopole, and 7 clusters. The cluster is written this way, cluster ER, because ER is the capital letter of Emilia-Romagna. So it is, you understand quickly the regional dimension of our cluster are 7, and Greentech is among these associates of public and private bodies built from the Emilia-Romagna entities and companies, but not only in the cluster Greentech. We have also some company from other regions because we want to share the mission. In our case is a cross-sectoral mission dedicated to the green technology. Other cluster is more thematic, agri-food, build, make, create, earth, innovative is our more thematic. Our cluster is very transversal. And this cluster are born 6 years ago, so we are almost very young. But in any case, now we are 110 members. So we are growing very, very fast in the last 6 years. And most of the members are private companies, but not only. As you can see from this picture, we are very different organization into our cluster. So this kind of organization are focused on different theme dedicated to green technology, from the air quality to, of course, hydrogen. And in particular, as I say, the cluster is a regional, as a regional dimension, but now we are working to go international, and so we are developing some collaboration, alliance, and also we are working into European project like the H2GLOBAL. Another one was the Green Small Smart Cities. Those projects are focused, are interested in the Chile market. So maybe some of you already know us thanks to the Green Small Smart Cities that already had this mission in Chile. Focusing very fast to one theme, only one theme of the cluster, that is the hydrogen sector. Here you can see the snapshot of distribution of our members, our associated member involved in the working group for the hydrogen and power to gas work. We have companies, research entities, and other kind of entity, mostly public. And the green box show you the most active company in our project, and so more interested into the internationalization process of the cluster. So they have been involved in the mission of the H2GLOBAL. What I mean for the mission is the most active during the H2GLOBAL last year. We perform some mission in each country, each country of the project. So in France, in Portugal, in Spain, in Poland, and of course in Italy. Each cluster organize this kind of mission and share information among the other partner of the meta cluster. In this mission, we have the opportunity to add technical visit, B2B meeting, technical presentation, roundtable, also participation in different conferences like the Project Conference in Poland or the Key Energy Conference in Italy. Here we are in Italy. It was the last mission dedicated to the H2GLOBAL meta cluster and partners. So yeah, you can see some picture about the site we visited during our mission. This is the aim of also the next mission in Chile and South Korea, Morocco and Brazil. That is the international part of this of the project. So we are very interested in meeting and in mutual learning among the company in Chile, for example, or in the other target country we selected in our project. So here we are. If you want some more information, you can contact me, or you can contact Katia Ferrari. She's the manager of the cluster, as she is involved in this project, also in the other activities related to hydrogen or green technology in general. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tiziana, for your presentation. So if anyone has questions to any of the members of the clusters, please send them through the Q&A box. And now I'd like to give the floor to Alexandra. So Alexandra, whenever you are ready, please start sharing your screen and present.
Let me know if you see my screen, full screen or no. You have
Yeah, we can see it, but it's not in the, now it's in a full screen. It's perfect.
Ah, there we go. Yes, now it's full screen. Thank you.
Okay, great. So hi everybody, one time again, and my name is Alexandra. I will present today the cluster of hydrogen technologies in Poland. And so the cluster launched its activities in August 2017. Its mission is to initiate actions to increase the importance of hydrogen technologies and clean coal technologies by supporting members of the cluster and cooperating entities in the development of innovative solutions for energy efficiency and low carbon economy. The cluster will operate both the research and development center and the technology transfer platform to support companies' work on technology projects, and at a later stage to support testing and verifying of new solutions. As part of these activities, the cluster brings together more than 50 hydrogen industry players. It supports the expansion of Polish technologies, devices and products in the sector. One Other activities are economic missions, thanks to which the potential and opportunities of member companies are presented on growing markets. The cluster also actively participates in national and international projects and devoted to hydrogen. One activity is the organization of the TED conference, which brings together business, science, and government organization for decarbonization using green hydrogen. Our TED conference will be this year in October in Gdynia in Poland. So check out our social media, actually on LinkedIn, cluster of hydrogen technologies, and we will invite you for our conference. And feel free to contact with us via social media or with our coordinator, Żaneta Kłostowska. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alexandra, for your presentation. So, okay, so now I think we have some time for the questions. So, you know, there are no questions from the audience. I think they've been shy, but I do have a couple of questions of my own for our speaker. So, I think my first question would be to Johan. So, Johan, I think if I remember correctly, during your presentation that you mentioned that most of the hydrogen that would be produced in the region would be consumed by mining. Were you talking about like Antofagasta, or is that nationwide?
I said roughly a third, so 5 gigawatts of the expected, let's say 12 to 13 gigawatts that will be operational, well, expected to be operational by 2030. You know that in the industry, there's so many variables currently that could make that some projects move forward and others doesn't. But let's say in an optimistic scenario, a third of the expected production of hydrogen will be absorbed by the mining industry in the north of Chile. Just to clarify, I would say that 80% or 70% of the copper mining capacities in the country are in the Antofagasta region. So it's the bulk of the mining industry in the north. You have other mining operations in the central region as well. Anglo American just announced a hub of hydrogen in the central region as well, and other projects in the north, but I would say most of it is concentrated in Antofagasta. So yeah, a third will be absorbed by the mining industry.
Great, thank you, Johan. And aside from mining, what other industries are expected to consume hydrogen in Chile? I don't know if yeah, go on, Johan.
Yeah, actually, I don't know why one of the slides I had, it didn't appear, but let me just share it with you. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I see ammonia.
to give you an idea of like the project landscape, so out of the 24 projects in the north, so 20 are production projects, 3 are pure offtake projects, and 1 is R&D. And out of these production projects, 14 are ammonia. And of these 14 projects, there's only 1 for local ammonia offtake, which is the HyEx project developed by ENGIE and NIX. And that one will replace imported ammonia to produce ammonia nitrates, which is then used in blasting for mining operations, so explosives. But all the other ones are for exports. And then you have 4 projects which are looking to produce hydrogen, and that one will be used in local mobility applications, 3 of them, and 1 of them is aiming to sell hydrogen to the copper smelting industry as well. And then there's 2 e-fuel projects, and those e-fuel projects are mostly methanol, which is expected to be exported, and also a share of it will be used in blending in the mining industry as well, in engines. So yeah, that's kind of like an overview of the projects and what they're looking to produce and by who will be used.
Thank you, Johan. That's very, very useful. Maybe question for Marcus. I don't know You mentioned a few, I think, timelines by when hydrogen would reach certain price points. What do you think is realistic? I think right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there isn't really that much hydrogen, renewable hydrogen being produced in Chile, right? So everything needs to scale up really quickly. So, how quickly could we see like those prices going down in Chile for green H2, of course?
Yeah, thank you, Carlos, for the question. And we have the same challenge as the entire what's happening in the world in terms of the global announcements. We have in the world 320 billion investments in announcements, and we know that the main challenges are related to the final investment decisions. I would say that in Chile we are trying to move forward and push very hard to try to implement many of the projects in 20, well, it depends on the uses, but in 2027, 28. But currently what we have, the picture that we have in place like 9 or 10 different pilots projects that they are, of course, on a smaller scale. In 2025, 26, we should have 2 other projects in a commercial scale, I would say. But mostly of the projects in terms of exports, for example, in Magallanes, we have as well the different deadlines of Europe in terms of what is recognized as renewable hydrogen. For they are pushing very hard, and the government, as you can see, is trying to modify regulations that we will need in the entire value chain on storage, distribution, uses, the recognition of the raw materials, for example, ammonia for energy infrastructure, but for industrial infrastructure as well, security issues. But I would say that the country and the current government and President Boric in Chile, they are heading to at least to have the first projects in his government. As an association, what we have conducted, for example, and some of the things that Johan was explaining, try to get the information in terms of what the uses or the first uses will be applied in the country, and not only for domestic uses, but for export as well. And well, the first one, ammonia, green ammonia, for exports and later on for explosive for the mining sector. Transportation, domestic uses are critical, not in terms maybe on the size, but on the legitimacy of the territory, of the communities, of the NGOs, and we need to take care of that as well. So local uses like transportation, as you can tell, the territory of Chile is long and narrow, so everything that we need to take from the south to the north or from the north to the south comes with trucks with high loads, and hydrogen can become a great source of fuel for that. You can see some synthetic fuels that are already implemented, and I understand that the capture of CO2 is not from air. We know the challenges in terms of technology. They're using some CO2 from different industries. So my guess, by looking all the different projects that we have today, I would say that between 2028, 29, 2030, we should be seeing many projects at a commercial scale.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Marcos. And there is someone here, Bruno Figueira, is asking, using the chat, but not the right channel, but anyway, I'll take the question. It says projects in the south of Chile, Magallanes, need to share infrastructures, ports, etc. Will the government support the development of those infrastructures?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, thank you for the question. That, of course, is one of the critical parts, is the sharing infrastructure in terms to build the different projects, to get all the components, and later on to export. Currently, what's happening in terms of sharing infrastructure is that we have an app, the state oil and gas company from Chile, that they have all the pipings, the permits, some of the ports there, and they are trying to get to joint ventures with private parties to build that infrastructure that we need in terms of incremental infrastructure instead of starting from scratch. So you're right. Definitely the answer is that we will need to have shared infrastructure. Otherwise, we should have like 7 different ports. Talking in terms of the sizes of the projects, we are talking more than doubling the capacity that we have today in terms of power and electrolyzers. But the government is trying to implement through an app that joint ventures for infrastructure. In the north, of course, the situation is different. You need to share, but you have many of the infrastructure in place, since you have the mining industry and the renewable, the solar and wind plants. So you have ports, you have infrastructure, roads, etc. So I would say that in the north should be easier in terms to have the infrastructure ready to be implemented.
Thank you very much, Marcus, for your answer. There is another question here. This one is by Raúl Ibarra for Johan. He asks, what would you say are the main challenges for Chile's distribution / transport of H2 or other hydrogen carriers over long distances? So yes, so one of the challenges connected to distribution, transportation of hydrogen or derivatives of hydrogen?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question and a hard one to answer, actually. I think most of the developers worldwide are facing the same barriers in terms of common infrastructure. So basically optimizing the costs. I think Oman is doing a great job in this regard in terms of like tendering not only concessions for production, but already tendering the common infra that will be exporting through one port in Duqm, for example. So the Middle East, it's kind of like aiming for this kind of strategy, whereas Chile, we have already allocated the concessions. However, now we're thinking on the common infrastructure, which is a hassle to do it once you already know that projects are located in different areas. It's harder to do it if you didn't plan it from the very beginning. So I think like that's kind of like one of the main challenges at the moment. However, it's being tackled in the south, as Marcos said, an app. It's kind of like the arm of the state, which is coordinating this. Whereas in the north is more complicated because we don't have an energy company in the north. It's a mining region. So what we're trying to do is to coordinate all of the players which are around the Mejillones port to optimize through one common export point their exports of mostly ammonia. So I think like that's one challenge. And then also we are a country that we rely heavily or 100% in foreign direct investments compared to, for example, the Middle East that has the oil and gas capital that can be redeployed or redirected to green fuels production, and Australia, which is already a developed economy, and they have a way more solid and developed financial sector as well. So we are kind of like in the same level as Morocco or the southwest of Africa in terms of like we need to put the most competitive conditions for attracting funding, and we are competing against other very attractive geographies as well. So I think that's the biggest challenge in Chile at the moment. So I wouldn't say it's a physical one, it's rather a regulatory one, and kind of like optimize and provide the best conditions for the lowest export cost from Chile.
Thank you very much, Johan. So we have 5 minutes. We're coming up to the end of the webinar. So I wanted to ask you, so is there any expertise or any services in particular that you, Johan and Marcus, would say are needed in Chile to develop this industry that could be brought from other places that are where they are developing hydrogen, such as Europe or the US?
Yeah. I would love I think that trying to change the entire regulation for the entire country is always hard. On every regulation, we are pushing very hard, and the government is trying very hard as well. So I would love to get more knowledge about the different hydrogen valleys and hubs, since from those you can learn how to coordinate in terms of infrastructure, human capital development, sharing the connection from the electricity part, from the gas part. So I would love to see different examples of different, and as Johan mentioned last week, Anglo-American with many other countries, many other companies, and our association as well, and others. They already have the information about the Central Valley. What should we be seeing, and the challenges that we have there. So any knowledge about different presentations that I saw here, but in terms of coordination, hubs and shared infrastructure, building skill capacities, in terms of incentives, of course, is another part that we are trying to see what are we going to implement. As I mentioned, we have just launched the facility, the financial facility, that mostly those tools will be related to providing warranties and credits. It's not direct incentives like in the US or other places. But I would focus on valleys and hub, and how we can be focused on a specific part. Like Johan said, Mejillones in the case of in the north, Mejillones, Tal, or the Central Valley, or BOE, or even Magallanes.
Yeah, and if I can compliment on Marco, I think, the fact that a couple of weeks ago we had Hyvolution, the technology fair in Chile, which is the first time that it's done outside of France and is one of the biggest ones in Europe, I think shows how mature and healthy the value chain in Chile is around hydrogen, and how many developers and technology providers are currently looking at the market and bringing their technologies. So I think that's a big opportunity for European players, Asian players, to actually come and explore the market. And because we have so many offtake projects as well, it's not only large scale exports like maybe Australia and the Middle East. Chile highlights or distinguish itself because of these offtake acts as well locally. So I think that's an opportunity. All kind of course, consulting and related services. And maybe last but not least as well, on the e-fuels side of things in the north especially, I think it's a big opportunity because it's a transition fuel. It's, mining trucks are still not commercially, let's say, realistic during this decade. However, having e-fuels that could decarbonize the mining industry in the short term, I think there's a strong appetite for that as well. So CCUS and e-fuel production technologies as well, I think, have a niche and will be interesting for the Chilean market.
Thank you very much, Johan. Agata, I can't see you've got your hand up, so go on.
Yeah, just maybe we have the last minute, so just a very quick question from my side, can be both to Marcos as well as Johan. Regarding the collaboration, because Chile strongly bets on the production of hydrogen, of course, and the development of the hydrogen valleys right now, but I assume that a posteriori you will also aim to export those technologies, but also we were talking about the different types of collaboration. So I don't know, could you maybe comment briefly on different types of collaborations that Chile is looking for right now? Or if you could maybe mention some key target countries that you could mention or let's say highlight.
Yeah, I will be short. I need to leave, sorry about that, but I would say that Chile is trying to implement on the strategy to create domestic value as well, besides the export part, because that will add value to the regions, to the communities, to the job creations. So the development agency is launching different subsidies to create local capacity, to provide in the future local electrolyzers and other technologies related to the green hydrogen value chain. So any exchanges on how to create local value, at the different territories, not only on the side of technology, but on communities, on job creation, and etc. Positive external benefits besides the value chain that would add value to the conversation, at least with the government.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, the Corfo, the government agency, early this year, they released a request for information or interest for manufacturing electrolyzer capacities in the country. And we're seeing this also in the Middle East and in other geographies as well. That is not only the historical extractivistic model of only exporting and not leaving any value or added value to local populations. I think Chile is very engaged with actually kind of like moving forward and with this industry, with this new industry, and developing the whole value chain. It will take, of course, years to do, but I think it's one of the main targets for the country, and especially in the north that has a very mature industries and services around mining. So any kind of collaboration in which companies could potentially look for manufacturing capacities in Chile, I think the country is very open and targeting these kind of interests and collaborations.
Thank you very much. We are very happy to hear that.
Well, thank you to all the panelists and the participants in this webinar. So I think we've come to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again here online, and hopefully on the 2nd and 3rd of August in Chile, if you fancy a trip down there. Well, I don't know where you are, but you know, hopefully see you there. So we'll have RenMet Chile 2nd and 3rd of August at the Intercontinental Hotel in Santiago. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. And thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Good day. Bye. Thank you.
Ciao.